animation. Mikyx, the sapling, the sapling! It looks so cute, but it brings death. Shadowy Strike coming out, let's crash down as well. He's sliding in underneath the tower. I don't think Humanoid survives this one, almost gets capped. Onto Humanoid, Nicky surviving for so long, but he has to flash away, and even that won't save him today. Razork chunked down towards the bottom side, no one look for the chain of corruption. He's stunned with the Seer. And I thought I liked it rare, but G2 won this fight, well done.
Dylan, thank you so much for joining me. During this game, we are 10 minutes into third game right now. We identified Smolder as being an issue. Obviously, you guys did as well. But I want to talk about your adaptations from the previous draft. Why did you come up with this one this time around?
It's a bit more of a basic comp this time, like a little Cassante top lane with Brand, kind of similar to the games we were playing yesterday. So we reverted back to something a bit more basic. I actually think last game we were in a pretty good position, but I guess the dragon fight did not go too well.
Basic doesn't sound like G2 though.
Yeah, I guess sometimes the meta can be a bit strict, especially with a lot of these AP junglers, I would say.
Now talking about the series in general, is there anything that surprised you or threw you off when it comes to Fnatic so far?
No, I don't think they played anything out of the ordinary. I think they're playing pretty well both games. I think they had a good chance in game one and they won game two, and this one looks pretty close as well. So I think it's just been a good fight so far.
Best of luck in the rest of the series.
Thank you so much.
Sjokz, over to you.
Thank you so much. You made him wobble. I know Dylan is very, very adept at giving these interviews. He's extremely PR. We appreciate him. He always wants to talk to us. But she was like, standard. That doesn't sound like G2 though. And he was like, he wavered.
It doesn't sound like G2, but at the same time, I do like that he went for it. I mean, he even said it himself, well, not with his own words, but with mine, that it was probably the best approach to just go standard, because you're forced into blue side. You can't really get these sort of spicy matchups that you get to thrive in the chaos. You're forced to go into something more basic that will withstand any sort of chaos that Fnatic throws at you.
And Fnatic elected to be on the red side again, so they'll be forced into blue again. You don't like it?
I mean, we were both looking at each other, but I was trying to figure out
why. You like it for G2?
I like it for G2, but I don't like it for Fnatic, because for me, if you go red side, especially after a game like this, it really feels like you're saying, oh, we liked what we have, we just couldn't close it out. But for me, this game wasn't really that close, you know? I mean, those skirmishes that they had early game were a little bit of, you know, a miracle, since the HP bars are so low, they could go both sides. But for me, the picks that they chose as power picks, or they correctly identified as power picks, the Maokai, the Camille, even the Varus to some extent as the counter to Kalista, they didn't really work so well. So that's why I'm a little bit shocked that they chose red side.
Yeah, but I think their adaptation will probably come out in the bans, right? So they used to ban the Azir. They didn't do that this game.
Yeah.
It came through. They had an AP jungle on the ban as well. Didn't really do that this game. They just traded it for Maokai, which is still a good trade, don't get me wrong. But I genuinely think that when Yike is on brand, the games become so much easier for G2 to play. I'm actually baffled they're not forcing more brand games on Yike, because I genuinely think it's his best champion.
It's incredibly on brand for him, and he always does well.
Hey.
And he always does well. But I also think, and we were talking about this in the green room, that regardless of if you're not too happy that Fnatic is going back on red or necessarily, of course, obviously they lost this game, so that sucks. But I saw a lot of good things from them as well. There were a couple of missteps that cost them the game again, and I'm starting to get really frustrated about that particular aspect of their game, but it was G2's Yike and Caps that had to save that game in the beginning.
No, absolutely, you're right, because Fnatic did have really good skirmishes in the early game. They had a great skirmish on top side, they had an even better on bot side where
What
they
did
just
they have?
I mean, they had everything they wanted. They
No,
had a
they didn't have objectives again.
Oh, yeah, that is true. I'll give you that. But that's why they didn't get that one.
Yeah, more than the previous game.
Yeah, that's what my point is. They didn't get the stump stood in the early game on the objective game as they did in some of the other games. I love this skirmishes up in top side here. It's very close. It's trying to skill check your opponent.
Yeah.
Fnatic's got them hands. They're showing it, and it's really giving them an early lead.
But then the pressure comes on G2, because now you've been set behind, you had a tragedy in the top lane, you're 3 kills behind, and then you need to look for the only win condition that you have, and it has been Caps on the mid lane, because the gank that they get after that just sets them up for pretty much the whole game to just be unstoppable.
And I think G2 had a lot of forces in the early game, which kind of allowed them to come back into it. But even when they did, it was like they got something and lost even more when they did it. And I think it's kind of been a trend, at least from the kill perspective, with G2, with what they've been going for. There's certainly times where they can slow the pace down a little bit. And I think Fnatic actually did a great job on capitalizing on that one weakness in this game. But it once again comes back to the fact that Fnatic, they can't keep the ball rolling, and they start dropping plays.
Exactly, because the ball is in their core. They have the Camille that is really strong. The Varus is still okay in the game. Humanoid, even though he, like, you know, Azir got his sort of like lead from the bot lane play, he still got gold. He could still get funneled, but it just seemed that the lane assignments that the Fnatic were going for and who they're empowering the game doesn't really match their playstyle because Oscar was put in the situation with the Camille where he is the main character of the game, but then he was left out to dry against Caps, and even now he's getting bullied pretty much because he's looking for these flank plays, because it's just so hard for Fnatic to find these plays with how strong their front line is.
No, you're completely right. I mean, G2's the one picking Fnatic apart. They have the tempo advantage. They're willing to sacrifice plays. The reason why this play worked is because they identify Humanoid is taking the top tower on tier 2. Now, this play, I absolutely lost my mind. G2 has already won a game, the fight. Cap spawns the Azir turret. Laure is getting 1v1'd by an Azir turret. Caps probably doesn't even need to come in here. So they already won a fight around that dragon. Then Caps is sticking around. Fnatic try and punish it, and the Azir turret is enough to just take out Noah.
Yeah,
It looked like you wanted to say something.
I mean, I was still bamboozled from the whole play because I mean I can't really put it on Noah there because he's forced to walk through the tower, because when you pull the trigger and then Humanoid TPs in with the Corki, he's like, oh, he's kind of stuck here. I kind of have to help him, but then at the same time they're stuck between two plays, and then it just ends up being tragedy.
Yeah, and I won't put the blame on Noah either, but I will put it on a few members of the team who have done this 3 games in a row. When they were in positions that maybe they built up the advantage themselves, or maybe they got it through a good move of the team, someone is just out of position. And it is so frustrating to watch because G2 is a team that when they have championship mentality, one pick is literally all it takes. We saw that in this game as well. Caps won the Azir in this late game. I mean, they're on match point now, and it could have been completely different.
And it's really tough because the reason this is happening is because the identity of Fnatic is changing throughout all of the 3 games. Everyone has different roles coming from game to game, and then they're stuck in these positions where they're just unfamiliar, while G2 is constantly adapting. Well, are they actually really adapting? Because they just keep getting this brand, and it's their ballpark where they just keep playing the same comp again and again.
Yeah, I mean, there's always the thing where it's great to have a team that is flexible, that can play off-meta pick. You know what's sometimes just better than that?
What?
Playing meta. And that's exactly what they're doing right now, because they are just going for the champions that are OP. The reason why I think G2's winning these games is because they are the ones that can dictate the game pace even when they're behind.
And GB, they're now on match point for the Grand Slam. They have won winter, spring, and summer. They couldn't do it last year. They failed 1 shield. This time they can. I know the Ultras are right here where we are. I know the Fnatic Ultras, I think, are on the other side, but it would be monumental. The first time since we had this system, it would be them to do it. And of course it would be them.
Yeah, but it feels weird, right? Because in winter, there's no one challenging G2. In spring, I kind of got to get better. But no, there's still the one who's just rolling with the punches and no one's really punishing them. But here in summer, this is where it's become difficult for them. Summer, they almost didn't make it against Fnatic. Season finals, those question marks around it. Why they're going to get knocked out to BDS? They had to reverse sweep this one. This feels like it's the first one they've really had to work for. And it's not even done yet. It's on match point. But with the way that the games have been going so far, there's no telling if Fnatic's actually going to take the next one.
Work isn't done, and I have a feeling, because at Fnatic, if you know you've worked toward this for so long, you're finally in this position, you're not going to let it go that easily.
Now is the moment. Backs against the wall, all that negative history back behind you, and this is your one opportunity here to turn it all around and secure at least a game 5.
And we'd love a game 5 here in the Olympiahalle in Munich. We're going to head back over to our casters for perhaps our final draft, but I do not want to believe it.
Nor do I, Sjokz, nor do I. Give me one more after this. Give us 5. Plenty of people have traveled a long way to watch these 2 titans of Europe smash their faces into each other. And so far it has delivered. Vi, Braum, Poppy banned away by G2, Ashe and MF once again from Fnatic.
Zyra was the final one, but it is going to be that Kalista again. So trying to make sure that that doesn't fall into the hands of Hans Sama. Rell once more, so small adaptations, but nothing major. And now it comes to the question again, is it, I was going to say Maokai Corki, but it's Leona Maokai once again.
Fnatic saying that Hans Sama having too much agency is a problem, and they need to take it away from him. The problem is he always has that Draven in his back pocket. Is that something that he wants to bring out here, or something that he even wants to prioritize? With the Azir still open, that's always an option, but last time we saw the Rell Kalista brand, they could just grab the brand. Instead, they prioritize the Cassante. I think it would make sense to grab the brand here for Yike as well.
So it feels like what basically G2 are saying, if they grab the brand here, is you have to match us Fnatic on this top side, or else we're going to start banning away all of these AD carries picks on this next rotation as well, and then force us into this deep pool of all these different AD carries, like the Xayahs, maybe then the Dravens, and get rid of things that like the Ezreal that can set up an easier time for Noah.
Last time we saw Olaf Tristana as Fnatic's bans on the second phase. Obviously, they haven't locked in the Varus yet. Got the hands on the Corki instead. So I wonder if we'll see Azir banned away.
Oh, for sure.
By Fnatic. Just to really, like, Caps looked like a shadow of himself in the first 2 games compared to the impact he had in game number 3. That Azir so powerful in his hands. Tristana, the first ban, no surprises there.
Tristana going to be taken away. I think it's either going to be AD carry bans here for G2, or do they get rid of things like the Camille and just try and set up an easier time for Broken Blade? But if you can get rid of Ezreal, if you can get rid of even things like Zeri, I think it actually ends up favoring Hansama, but it will end up being the top lane bans instead. Any sort of nuisance for the K'Sante.
I mean, Azir still up. Smoda, the second ban here by Fnatic. Kind of asking G2 to go down that double AP route in the Brand and the Azir.
We have seen the Corki flex into top already against the K'Sante, so could always be an option here that they're trying to bait out that Azir and then maybe go for some sort of flex position where Humanoid has Leona still up and available and can go very aggressive against that Azir. But at the moment, Ezreal banned away, so we'll be drifting down that champion pool.
Kennen looking to be the lock-in. I think it makes a lot of sense. I really love Oscar's Kennen. I prefer it over the Renekton personally. I think he's always going to have that comeback potential on the champion. They're debating between a lot of different options right now. Still plenty of time on the clock. But they're gonna lock it in. Renekton for Oscar. I feel like that into a K'Sante, it just falls off so quickly. I think with the Renekton Maokai, it's a combo that doesn't really net you a lot of agency. Sure, it can be a strong backline threat if it can get into a solid position in the mid game, but I'm concerned about how much impact it's gonna offer in the team fights.
Also just the opportunity to try and play for range here as well if you really want to as G2. Just take the Azir, have that pushback potential, go for something that's a little bit safe in the AD carry role as well, and makes it very difficult for the Renekton to operate in these team fights.
They might go for Varus themselves.
Yeah, I think that could work out really well.
Jhin could also be an option.
Xayah potentially as well. Like,
also Xayah.
So, yeah, Jhin. Okay, and there you go. Like, how do you try and run into them here with this Renekton? It makes it very, very difficult. But
now I would love this. I would love to see a Ziggs. I think that it is incredibly strong right now. It offers so much power in the mid game, and we're gonna get it.
Oh my God!
The Ziggs for Noah.
This is incredibly high priority in the LCK right now. We're seeing it in the LPL as well. Very good at controlling that lane state in bot after you get your Lost Chapter, that first part of your first item. Often runs the teleport as well, unleashing Jhin onto the map.
3 things that I think it does incredibly well. Number 1, just natural team fight power.
Sure.
Number 2, poke. Like, it's such an effective tool at just chipping away your HP bar, especially if you're first on an objective. Poke, 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 poke. He's got so much safety to play around with the Maokai. And third, and most crucially, I think, especially against G2, side wave management. The ultimate that you can just throw out to clear a wave to stop G2 from trying to attack those side lanes should alleviate a lot of the pressure from Fnatic. So what's crucial is getting Ziggs through the early laning phase, as we've seen Hansama largely dominate so far in this finals.
I was going to say, it also has a significant amount of kill threat with the setup that's on that squad. Like, the level 5 to level 8, 9 is very strong if you set up with the Leona, the Maokai engage. So you can already see the cleanse will be taken more than likely on this Jhin, and I expect as we start to travel forward into that fight, there's a lot of pressure on this bottom side, even just so you can leverage the teleport advantage that Noah has.
For G2, it is one step away, one brick away from building what is a seemingly insurmountable legacy here in Europe. A Grand Slam, the first team to do it since season finals were introduced for Fnatic. It's one step on a long road back into this series. They have been close. The matches have been tight. The fights have been on a knife's edge, but every time there's been G2 favored. Can Fnatic find that fight? Can Fnatic find that victory? It does not occur without the suffering of defeat. But Fnatic have tasted that for the last 6 years. Is this the year?
Mikyx and Jhin, an exchange of emotes as they set up the line of scrimmage once more. They know that nothing crazy is going to happen. The gentleman's agreement. And they'll both walk away. They know what's on the line here. Fnatic find themselves in a dire situation. They want to bring us to Game 5. I mean, we all want Game 5. This series has been extremely entertaining between the two staples of the LEC. Whereas G2, they want to close things out here. Cement themselves as the best team in Europe once more. Secure the Grand Slam. The domestic Golden Road. And we'll see who comes out on top. This Ziggs pick is going to be a treat to watch, I hope.
For G2, it's also about confidently closing out the series. It's a team that there's been many question marks around, a lot of doubts around, and they've been trying to answer them back over the last few days. They've had some great successes, but closing out here against Fnatic would definitely give them a big boon and kind of add to the threat level that they have going into those international events. Whereas for Fnatic, they just desperately want to try and take down G2 just this once and see if they can push us to that Game 5.
Mikyx stunned as he jumps away. His shield already no longer there. And Summer takes a bit of damage, holding that fourth shot. Shield of Daybreak from Jhin. He takes an order to the back, but with the aftershock, tanky enough to brush that one off. The push for G2 once again in the bot lane, though, means that they'll hit the level 2 first. But now we're really about surviving until you get towards that first lost chapter, until you get a little bit more wave clear. Ziggs does have a lot of damage and can be very powerful in the team fights, but in a pure 2v2, you're rotation based, unlike something that has those auto attacks like the Jhin, even though Jhin is kind of rotation based as well because of the 4 shots. Still, we'll put out more consistent DPS than the Ziggs in the early game.
So though, if that poke does start to land, you always can follow up very effectively with Jhin. And it catches many people off by surprise just how much damage the Ziggs can do. Yep. We've seen Jackie Love get 2v2 kills alongside Maokai with the Leona. Like, this is a mega threat. But Mikyx, using that initial push they have to give Hansama the quick reset and look for a potential play, but Jhin following, spotted on the ward.
So that might look really weird to you. The reason you do it is you can buffer the Shadowing Strike, then flash. And what Mikyx is trying to do there is say, hey, Humanoid, you're going to flash this? Because I could flash, and then you'd be stunned. But Humanoid was relatively safe anyway with Jhin coming in from the side, that even if Mikyx had used the Q flash, I don't think he really would have been in any danger.
The health discrepancy also starting to show as Caps doing what he can to heal up with the fleet footwork, but Humanoid doing the same. Both junglers continuing that full clear. As Yike looks for his recall, and I imagine Razork is going to look to do the same thing. Maybe he drops a ward in the enemy jungle. And overall, a steady and slow start to the game, very much as we expected. But notice as well, Noah, due to the cheetah recall coming out from Hansama, has built himself up a bit of a lead. Going to likely be quickly closed, though, as Hansama comes back and catches this wave.
I don't think it's too much there for Noah, especially since you operate with that teleport for the Ziggs. I think Hansama just trying to get a quicker reset in so then he can at least match something in the later portion of the game, but, or sorry, in the later portion of the laning phase, but Mikyx?
He'll look for the crash down. Deadly Flourish connecting from Hansama, but Noah able to walk away. Jhin was a little bit later on his reset, so he's still working his way down towards this bottom lane. We saw Yike trying to avoid the vision that had been placed by Razork in his top side jungle by lane ganking, but didn't really need to. Broken Blade has that wave shoving in anyway.
I mean, Oscarinin actually got a nice trade in the early stages, forcing Broken Blade back as the wave was pushing into him. So Broken Blade kind of needed that help to get this wave crash. You can see Oscarinin doing a really good job in the early laning phase over the course of the series against Broken Blade.
Humanoid potentially setting up a bit of a freeze here. Yeah, he's got the wave in a nice spot. Caps going to be forced to teleport. Shouldn't come as really a surprise. Mid laners often tried to leverage that in the early game. He should be able to push this one out, especially with Mikyx at his back. Renekton on the top side, building a small advantage, as you would expect, into the Cassante. But so far, nothing too crazy happening. Just a lot of trading, a lot of farming. Fnatic ultimately playing more towards scaling. When you have Corki, when you have the Ziggs especially, you really need those items. 2-item spikes are very valuable, especially with the Muramana and the Trinity Force on the Corki. So Fnatic should just prioritize looking to cross-map, trade on the map, and ultimately not concede too many early advantages to G2.
And that's one of the big advantages that you do get with the Ziggs being able to take that teleport, being able to move around the map, and Fnatic have been taking great advantage of those teleports over the course of the series, catching G2 out inside, but now Caps caught in mid.
Yeah, TPing by Humanoid, can go in with the Valkyrie. Caps still has the flash here, and I think Caps will be fine. Just going to constantly be harassed by Razork and by Humanoid, but meanwhile, the Drake secured for G2. Both Noah and Humanoid burning their TPs at the same time to get back into these lanes.
They're just trying to see if they could burn the health bar off of Caps, and maybe you could then lean over towards the Void Grubs that have spawned as well, but Caps actually managing to escape and get away from most of that damage. Still having those 3 biscuits in his back pocket means that he should be alright, but Fnatic still get that presence in the mid lane, and it's enough to go for the Void Grubs.
It's also first move for Jhin, right? He's already in the mid lane, giving Razork that extra safety. You know you have a numbers advantage of the fight. We saw Mikyx backing a little bit later. Both the AD carries, or bot laners, I guess we'll have to call them this game, are left to their own devices. Lost chapter already complete for Noah, means his wave plays good. Jhin, obviously, relatively good at wave playing as well with that bouncing grenade and the deadly flourish.
Yeah, I think I'm going to try and keep my eyes on just how Fnatic try and push these early advantages. Actually, there's an ult to stop. There you go, Caps in the mid lane. And these are the plays that I was going to talk about, where you can consistently use this ultimate from Noah just to be a nuisance. Whether it's open up on mid and then use it to disrupt setup plays from G2 as they try to cross map, even just trying to stop Caps there from resetting to give advantages to Humanoid. This Ziggs can be so good at disrupting tempo plays, and that's where I really want to see Fnatic take it to G2.
Both teams putting a lot of priority on protecting their mid laners. There are, of course, no neutrals. Teams are just fishing for picks. Maybe they can burn summoner spells or valuable resources ahead of objective spawning within 3 minutes' time. So far, though, nothing too crazy. G2 happy to continue to farm up. First core components being completed. Lost chapter was something that's often discussed with the Ziggs. After TPing back into lane, he was able to secure that. And the gold is pretty much dead even outside of the small lead being built up in the top lane.
And the question is, how much will that lead be actually able to manifest into something in team fights? We've already talked about how difficult it can be for the Renekton to get into these battles. He does have 500 gold ahead. Oscarinin having very good finals in terms of getting individual leads in that top lane.
So I think the difference maker here is actually how the draft pivoted for Fnatic. The fact that you've taken Ziggs and Corki now gives you a little bit of a range advantage over G2 that you can try and look to leverage. Look, yes, you've got the big massive curtain call, but in a straight up fight of, hey, we want to try and close the distance with the curtain call, that still then favors like the opportunity to play into Oscarinin, to play into Razork, and I think that's where Fnatic will eventually be able to turn the tides by just kiting back and taking that initial open curtain call from G2.
For the moment, though, both teams willing just to push out the lane, catch the wave, push back the wave, catch the wave. Like watching a very simple game of, catch in the backyard. Everyone just...
I was thinking surfing, where you go out, you swim out, catch the wave back in, and then you
no one's riding any barrels yet, No one's doing any flips. Very willing just to continue to get these wave pushed in, get back. Locket finished first for Razork. Oscar 33 stacks, 29 stacks now away from completing his cult. The Drake up in a minute and a half. The Void goes up in about the same time. We'll see if there's a battle around them. Fnatic have the first 3 this game. It's really been their modus operandi as Caps is chunked out quite a lot here. Mikyx coming in from the side. Shield of Daybreak's going to stun him up. Noah has that Mega Inferno bomb, but without any CC on Caps, a little bit difficult to make sure that you land it. The Seer on Razork procs the Blaze, but he'll be able to walk back towards this Scuttle Crab.
I thought they might just throw out the ultimate, see if he can get the flash from Caps. Dragon in a minute's time, you'd have that flash down, maybe then he becomes the focus of an Oscarinin flash TP or something from Razork, but instead, they're just going to hold on to it, try and just leverage again the poke that Humanoid is already doing enough hurt with.
I mean, Humanoid honestly has been having a very good series overall. Fnatic have put a lot of resources throughout the series to try and put Caps behind. Oscar, though, not taking a great trade here against Broken Blade, who's really now starting to stack up that armor.
The good thing for Fnatic, though, is Oscar hasn't used his TP, and Broken Blade's already used his to get back into the lane. Caps' TP is slightly earlier than Humanoid's, but you have to remember that's the third teleport on the side of Fnatic. Now, Noah's is still a while away as well, but if we do see a fight down towards that bottom side, Oscar will be able to join, whereas Broken Blade will have to run all the way through the rift to get down to a second Drake fight.
Jhin hovering around top. Yike is here to cover though. Oscar, as you rightly said, really wants to get a base off. Spend some of that money that he's been sitting on. He should feel safe enough to do that now. The grubs are alive, but this is great timing because he can go back to base, spend his money, TP in, be ready for the fight. Ziggs has moved over to mid. Humanoid's TP still on cooldown, so it likely won't be available for the grubs. But look at Renekton rejoining the fray with a Black Cleaver finished. Fnatic should feel confident to secure 6 grubs for the first time this series.
And the risk is, though, if G2 decided they wanted to fight it, as you say, Caps has TP and Humanoid doesn't. Right, so they could have looked to take the fight. Instead, the 3 grubs will go over to Fnatic. The pushing power of Ziggs, complemented already with that satchel charge, now has the grubs as well to help him out. They're going to push in that top side. Broken Blade trying to survive as the flash shadowing strike into the crash down. Humanoid flashes away, the Ignite ticking. Mega Inferno bomb! Holy hell, that's a lot of damage! You need some sort of diffusal to deal with that. Humanoid still alive. Caps has to flash away. Noah here to join the party. Hunsummer hits one. Noah gets one in response, and now Hunsummer has the gun to take the kill. 2 for 2 on the bot side. Razork trying to get away from Broken Blade, who dashes across the tower. Still should go over to Fnatic in the top lane. Oscar will take that as his prize for this sequence.
I mean, I swear that Humanoid and Noah just earned the accolade of explosives experts after that performance in the bot lane. My goodness, G2 were not expecting that damage. They secure the top lane as well. They'll get themselves 5 grubs. Mikyx trying to buy time for Caps to arrive.
Storm going down. Caps, blast comes into the pit, can dash across here, and I don't think Razork really has a way out. Could look for the flash, the Bramble Smash used. Phase Rush isn't enough! Mikyx no flash, no Magnet Storm, and I think the tree will live. He just leaves the situation, uproots himself, and manages to extricate himself from any danger. And now Fnatic pushing in the bot side as well. It's more plates, it's more gold, it's more money for Fnatic and more hope, perhaps, for them in this series.
As Fnatic, who are just constantly coming out on top, even in the 2 for 2 on bot, you get the top lane turret. Now when you go for that play in the top end of the map, as well as Humanoid, who's getting very, very strong, and you see the 2,300 gold lead already for Oscarinin. Side lane demolition derby is fully underway for Fnatic.
Normally I would say that I've seen this type of lead on Renekton many times before and it's amounted to very little. But I feel like that with the way Fnatic is playing, this Ziggs changes so much. The ultimate gives you so much side lane control, the ability to deny those dives, the awkwardness that G2 have to experience through a strength that they've leveraged so often, Ziggs is able to nullify.
And he just keeps so much control even in his own lane as well. Clears out a wave, leans the bot. Jhin is enough to pressure Broken Blade off that turret because Ziggs has left to Mikyx.
He's going to try and jump the wall, but you can't get away from the Zenith Blade, and Mikyx, that was a little greedy, my friend. He falls, Noah takes the kill.
He thinks that with the pressure he has in bot lane, the fact that mid is being caught as well, that he has the time to place the ward and get over to safety, but now Broken Blade is the target.
No ghost for him, does have the all-out. Zenith Blade goes in, Pathmaker as well, will have to be a little afraid of that as Jhin takes about a third of his HP. Broken Blade will be forced underneath the turret. Meanwhile, Hunsummer and Caps taking a Rift Herald for themselves. Yike here to shadow in the bot lane if a dive does materialize, and it looks like one night. The Seer hits Jhin, he flashes. Pyroclasm only gets one bounce, and Jhin should be able to escape. The Rift Herald for G2 will be their prize for surviving the bot side dive.
G2 playing well on the map. They just moved Yike down because you saw Jhin drift across up towards that Rift Herald. They assume.
Oh, Mikyx, the TP, perhaps it's the bait mate. It's Mikyx pulls the Magnet Storm back. Razork no flash, a Bramble Smash will buy him a second. The phase rush, trying to get away from the Seer. He dodges the stun. Another Bramble Smash back, but I think this tree is going timber. Fire beats wood after all. Yike will secure the kill, and Razork is charcoal.
You can lead a horse to water, and it's G2 who are feeding off this. Incredible that Mikyx managed to get away from that. Fnatic thought they'd found that pick, and by all rights they should have, but G2 again and again just showing up where Fnatic least expect them.
Fnatic, I feel like, have the right idea, but sometimes the execution falls short. Razork did buy a lot of time, but Fnatic couldn't really convert it into much. They still hold the gold lead for now. A lot of it is sitting on this Renekton though. And we've seen what Yike can do on this brand when he gets rolling. With the Leandries finished, He's only going to continue to get stronger. His team fight impact has been instrumental over the last 2 days. And Fnatic, they need to be concerned. They need to find that focus to bring us to a Game 5.
I mean, he hasn't lost a game on the champ this weekend. Played it 3 in a row against MDK yesterday, went 3-0. Has 1 win so far on it against Fnatic. Now looking for another. G2 though, still 2,000 gold in the hole. Fnatic still in advantage, but when you look at the next Drake coming up in a minute's time and know that that is sole point for G2, you have to think Fnatic need to find a fight around it.
But you need to look at where that gold is. It is everything on Oscarinin for Fnatic. If he is not at a fight, this is an even fight for G2. And especially when you're able to take some great engages off of Yike, off of how well Mikyx has been able to find these multi-man magnet storms. Fnatic are not as easily going to be able to fight this one out.
Cheers are up from the G2 fans. They're standing right beside us, and they have been boisterous, as have Fnatic fans in the audience. And now G2 set up around the Drake. Series can be defined by these single moments, the single plays, broken blade there. Razork has to dodge the Seer and uses the flash to escape the shadowing strike from Mikyx. TP into the mid lane by Noah, as he's going to try and get the push there, but G2 have prio on the Drake.
Losing the flash from Razork is massive. He still, of course, has the ultimate.
Here's
Very
the
close
TP.
to level 10. But
2 items on Noah, Betty. The event horizon is there, and they'll look for the damage. Mikyx goes in, but Mikyx might full burst. Oscar on the back line as well, but he's only doing damage to Broken Blade. Meanwhile, Cam's is dashing forward. Those soldiers doing so much work. Broken Blade brings the in, Topo's down. And Summer looking for more. Won't chase into Noah.
Once again, Mikyx's Rell is the difference maker for G2. The engage just tears apart Fnatic. They thought they could play in the choke, but in the end, they find themselves choked up as G2 take them down.
the setup from Fnatic was once again disjointed. We see the TP coming in, but in this choke point, all 5 members are looking to engage, and Mikyx finds such a great angle. It doesn't turn into a massive wombo combo, but look, Fnatic is forced to retreat. They're terrified of caps. Hans' ultimate is doing so much work, and the 2.4k gold lead Renekton is isolated and shut down.
The amount of damage that came off of Yike in that fight was absolutely absurd. Now G2 taking to the map once more.
They set their sights on the top lane tower. Broken Blade happy to catch bot. Fnatic though matching them, not looking to cross map as Noah continues to catch waves in mid.
But Noah hasn't really been in a position to help out with these waves on sides. He should be able to just clear out the waves, immediately move up, ult if you need to, get control, but unfortunately, trying to play for that horizon focus meant he was late for the fight, and now you're just losing control of the map, so even trying to step into your own jungle from this position can be very precarious. Broken Blade starting to push through, no real support here.
Infinity Edge now done for Hans Summer as well as he makes his way back out onto the map. Broken Blade losing that exchange to Humanoid. Odoamne still a ways away for Humanoid. He really wants that, given its item spike. Itemization across the board for Fnatic still looks good, but in terms of their objective setup, Fnatic has just been getting the better of it.
I mean, 3 dragons, Riftail still in Caps' back pocket, so he can be significantly more of a threat on side lanes. He's going to just plonk it down in the mid, though, because they know that Humanoid is resetting on bot, and it's 5 men for G2 in the mid lane.
Humanoid has that TP, satchel down by Noah. Looking to disengage. The Riftail will get the charge in. It's not going to be enough damage to take down this tower. And the Riftail will go down. Not as impactful as perhaps the cheers suggested, but still we love a Shelly shout here in Europe. It's Fnatic trying to get past this vision. It's a good vision line for G2. Humanoid steps in here. Their desperation creeping in for Fnatic. They are 1,000 gold ahead, remember, still, but last couple of fights have not gone in their favors. Camps puts up some disc. Mikyx here to make sure that he is not under any real risk.
Not once in this series of these games blowing open early. It's been a long, hard-fought fight where G2 just hit Fnatic at the finish line. And as they start to drift further and further into their own half of the map, Fnatic starting to lose control of, crucially, mid-tower now, as Hans Summer should be able to finish this one off. And then it becomes a case of setting up vision on the bottom side. 2 minutes until that Mountain Soul for Fnatic. Sorry, for G2. I would expect them to shift Caps down to that bottom side to be the one that's really threatening on this bottom side and keep Broken Blade on the top half.
I will say, Hansama has been first to this objective, first to the mid-wave every time. Broken Blade steals the Gromp away, says thank you for the leash, Oscar.
Gold lead's basically gone now.
I mean, you also got to think of the value that K'Sante brings in these fights. Yes, this Renekton is strong, but if you're not able to get onto Hansama, what does the gold lead really mean? It's a situation that just seems to get scarier for Fnatic, even though the goal difference is fine, the game state is fine. You just feel like the control is slowly slipping away towards G2.
And we felt the same feeling in summer finals, right? Fnatic managed to win that first best of 5. We thought perhaps it was their time, and then they were getting massive leads and slipping. And then here, again today, we've seen them have leads in these games, and at times they've slipped. For Fnatic, it's about reaching in, finding that mental fortitude to battle out of this sort of situation.
But also just that team finding is probably the shining light of Fnatic. We're yet to see that big 5v5. I'm excited to see it play out for Fnatic if they can just get the proper setup around the objective. The Dragon spawns in 50 seconds and they need to get set up and ready to fight G2.
But G2 are not giving them those moments. They refuse to give in to Fnatic and those team fights. They've been playing side lanes. They've been playing what they've been working on all year, which is a spectacular mid-game that teams find very difficult to control. Getting to waves first, pushing out, Caps hiding it just out of vision so that you can pop up when you least expect them to again put pressure onto a turret. G2 have been so consistent when it comes to this mid-game, and now it's Fnatic in game 4, backs against the wall, who need to find that moment to break it.
It's the moment before the drop. It's the moment before it all collapses. Look at the combat goal difference, almost 5 percentage points between these two teams. Fnatic have spent and spent wisely. They have more in terms of items. And right now, with Caps pushing out top, does he have a TP ward? Only bot lane, the minions, really. The curtain's open. I think this is a Drake secured for Fnatic. Razork can block the shots, and we're going to get an encore. It's blocked by Razork, and the last shot goes wide. Drake secured for Fnatic.
So G2 say, you know what, we're not even going to take the risk. We're not going to give Fnatic that fight. The wave is cleared out in mid. Razork sets his sights on Hansama.
Jhin pulled across the wall with the all-out. Razork going in towards the backline. Hansama dodge away from the Nature's Grasp. The Solar Flare goes wide as Broken Blade puts Jhin 6 feet under. Razork going for the re-engage. Meanwhile, on the top lane, Oscarinin diving in. Broken Blade takes a shot. Oscar will take him. Razork able to survive in the mid lane. Yike still putting the damage down. Look at that Pillar of Flame. Can't quite get the blaze down. In the end, a 1-for-1 across the board.
Fnatic tried to force a fight in mid. Good use of the Ziggs ultimate to clear out that wave. But then they became disjointed as Jhin is trying to work with Humanoid. The engage ends up happening on the bot side. Razork gets isolated as he's focusing Hansama. Jhin gets separated thanks to Broken Blade. And a play is happening on the top side with Oscar. It was all over the shot from Fnatic, and somehow G2 are able to make it work.
And it started off so clean in this series for Fnatic, but as it's gone on and on in the course of this game, we've said more and more it's been disjointed. More often it's Fnatic who haven't quite found that coordination to get the pick, to follow and engage, to get the vision down at an objective, and again, G2 come out the better for it. It's still a slight gold lead for Fnatic, but the map advantage for G2, the objectives that they've picked up, just means that they get to continue to play for sides and never give Fnatic that big wombo that they want.
The question is, can Fnatic force it? Can you just find the wombo? You've got a Solar Flare, you've got a Nature's Grasp, you've got a flash for Razork, and you've got Broken Blade in the top lane right now. Caps is down towards the bottom side and has the TP. G2 don't have too many wards around the bound right now. Mikyx places one. Fnatic will answer the mid-wave. Caps continues to push in, poking his head into that bot side jungle. Doesn't know if there's monsters around the corner. Oscar's on his way to answer. Noah can clear the mid-wave from a very long way away, but if he steps to his left, he might get caught. Yike looking for Razork. Gets the blaze, gets the passive. Razork very tanky though, and with the warm-offs can just heal back up. And now G2 have their turn to gain vision control, and with this Scuttle Crab as well, they'll spot all of that vision that Fnatic left.
you have to start taking risks as Fnatic, but G2 are just taking it so slow, clearing out every ounce of vision behind them, not giving that moment where maybe you can go for a triple TP play, maybe you can find that pick with the long-range Ziggs ult to set you up. In fact, it's Razork who's consistently been pushed back as G2 are on the hunt from anyone from Fnatic.
I can only imagine. Sorry, Betty.
No, you go ahead, please.
I can only imagine what's going through the players' minds right now. Especially if you're Fnatic, you know a single mistake could cost you the series, could cost you a title chance. For G2, these players have been here before. They committed to the roster once again for this year. And over the year, we've seen them struggle so many times. We've seen them be battered and bruised, going down even to the lower bracket, but somehow, they always come up clutch in those final moments.
But this is the problem now for Fnatic. That indecision can sometimes be a decision. It can give G2 what they want. And look, Fnatic, they're not making plays. They're afraid to push forward. G2 are just walking at them saying, what are you going to do? And Fnatic, they're gifting them everything.
Razork stepping in, the control ward cleared by G2. And 5 members strong on this top side, and the vision is there in the back of the pit. Yike will spot it though. Fnatic now basically no vision. They have one flank ward if they want it, but they don't know that G2 haven't started the Baron yet. Broken Blade's still there. Hansama looking for the route onto Jhin. Jhin does have a Warmog, so should be able to heal a bit of this up. I'm not sure if he's got that threshold yet. Meanwhile, in the bot side, Oscarinin is still pushing in, but he hasn't got a TP ward even if he wants to join the battle.
And that's why G2 are just trying to push these waves in. I think they want to try and start the Baron and get that TP out, but at the moment, Fnatic, the wave clear is good, so will be G2 resetting to catch those.
Dragon 45. Soul point once again. Hans, this has been his lane. First to the wave every time, getting that early push. Noah playing defensive. He's strong on the Ziggs, don't get me wrong. But it's Hans who's always able to gain that control. A 2-level difference between the junglers. As Yike picks up the Verdant Barrier. The battle for vision around this river is a very tense moment. Look at Caps in the side lane securing another objective. Little by little, G2 gains more control.
Noah here, Banshees on Yike. You want to pop that from that Verdant Barrier. G2 have the mid prio. Fnatic trying to fight back for it. 4 members in the mid lane. Humanoid basing can TP in. Caps has a TP ward behind here. The first TP in from Caps. Humanoid TP's up towards the top side. G2 has started the Drake, but it's going to reset. And we're going to have a fight before it begins. Razork locked up with a Seer, locked up with a stun! And he's buried in the river! Fnatic can't fight it anymore. It's Mountain Soul to G2.
Razork didn't even get to move. Shut down before the fight even starts. And that could be huge.
G2 don't want Fnatic to get away from this. Mikyx locks up Humanoid with a Magnet Storm. He's going to flash away. Broken Blade dashing in as well, looking for more Humanoid. Can he get to Blast going in time? You can't! Hansama the sniper finds his mark, and now G2 are looking for more. Oscarinin trying to dash away, still has the flash. He'll slice, he'll die, he'll dash. The Emperor's Divide goes wide as Oscarinin able to survive for now, but G2 in a 5v3 can look towards the Baron buff.
They're moving over. That wave and bot is already doing work for them, and Fnatic, they need to try and contest. Noah still has ult, could still do major damage in this pit, and Fnatic are hoping he can do just that as they teleport in.
It's do or die, it's all or nothing. Mega Inferno Bomb hits the back line, 5,000 on the Baron. Oscarinin on the front line, the Baron falling low though, and Yike will land the smite. Razork still trying to get him to join the battle, but I don't think there's going to be any fighting left for him to participate in. G2 get the Baron, they get the Soul, they win the fight, and they are 1 fight away from the LEC Championship.
No space given, no opportunity allowed. G2 patiently control the river, and they suffocate Fnatic. They remove the smite, they take down the jungler, they secure the dragon, and they say that they want more. A 1-team fight, a 4K gold lead. And Fnatic are very quickly running out of options.
It's another heartbreak potentially on the line for Fnatic here. They desperately need something to go their way, but G2 refuse. Mikyx scaring Fnatic out of their own jungle. The boogeyman has arrived, and it's got the G2 logo as a face.
G2 pushing in the bot side. Baron buff remains for 1 minute 50 seconds. Fnatic, any last ditch attempt, any last hope, any miracle you can muster. Broken Blade caught with the twisted advance, but he dashes back with Pathmaker and he's fine for now. Baron in the mid lane, Caps is the one shepherding that wave in. The Nature's Grass comes out and Fnatic look for the engage. They get onto Broken Blade, the Mega Inferno Bomb not enough and the curtains open. Is it all done? Is it all over? The Magnus Sword finds his mark, but Mikyx's the only one to fall. Caps is in the base. The Nexus Tower is his target as G2 begin to shepherd their way in. They're looking for more. Razork goes for the re-engage, tries tanking the tower, but that tower's not long for the rift. G2 in a 4v4, Yike flashes away from Humanoid, and Humanoid will not live to see another day. G2, 4 strong, 1 Nexus Tower between them and glory, 1 Nexus Tower between them and victory once again. Jhin dives in, but I think it's all over for Fnatic. Winter, spring, summer, season finals. G2 win the Grand Slam!
Incredible finals once again. Fnatic fought valiantly, but the control from G2 was just too much, and they will once again lift the trophy.
In this trophy ceremony presented by Kia, G2 will once again claim their prize, their second season finals. And what a way to do it. Fnatic fought. I thought after game 2 we were going to go all 5, but G2, their victories defined by small moments, defined by everyone standing up when it matters, and every player on this team has earned the right to call themselves champion.
G2 just feel undeniable. Slow, steady, controlled. Everything that they have learned this year culminated in this moment as once more they raise a trophy for Europe.
G2 will secure themselves the first seed representing Europe internationally once more. An organization whose expectations are beyond just this. They set their sights on the World Championship and they revel in their victory today.
Well deserved for G2. Not only the players, of course, the staff behind them. We saw them win. Coaching team of the split, Dylan Falco lifting the trophy. The best coach I think Europe has ever seen.
I think it's important to remember that this was not an easy road for G2. Yeah. They were pushed at multiple points. 5 games against PDS. Mad Lions, Corki knocking them down into the lower bracket. Fnatic pushing them at every point. But they were able to solve their problems and come out on top once more.
And to all the G2 faithful here as well in the crowd, supporting the team, boisterous, raucous, cacophonous at times. They were bolstered by your cheers, I'm sure.
Not gonna lie, slightly worried at times as well, seeing the entire stand in front of me bob up and down in time and in unison, but their fandom is well earned from this roster. G2 again, just the growth that this team sees is just incredible.
The best team we have ever seen in Europe as an organization, and this year the best team without a doubt playing in the LEC. More awaits them, of course, Worlds here in Europe. What a prize it would be to bring back something from that. Still a distant hope, but a hope nonetheless, I'm sure, for all of us here in the Olympiahalle in München.
I do think, though, a lot of those doubts that were leveraged at them, you can take a look at this series and see it just isn't as valid. It was very slow and controlled over this weekend. They didn't give up those same mistakes. There wasn't those same individual errors. In fact, so many of these members had incredible, outshining performances than what we've seen over the entire course of the year. And now it's just a case of if they can find that success once more on that international stage.
I mean, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Not just for G2, but for our teams in Europe, what they're capable of, how they test and compare themselves against the strength of the rest of the world. But you're right, G2 came in with confidence, clean gameplay, solid drafts, and big smiles on the faces. As I said, this was not an easy road for them. They were pushed, they were tested, their flaws were exposed, and they've done their best to grow and earn this title. The most dominant organization in Europe will continue their dominant ways.
And for Fnatic, obviously disappointment, right? They were close. Game 1, they almost won. Game 2, they brought back from the brink. Just on the day, the team you see on the stage right now were better. And that's no disservice to Fnatic. That's nothing to be sniffed at. G2 are a very good team.
It's so frustrating as well for a player like Razork, who you can see at the top. Even with Yike's fantastic performance today, you look at the entire year and Razork has earned the title of the best jungler in Europe. He's come so close to a title against this team so many times, and it's always G2 that stands in his way. Fnatic will continue to have their supports. I'm excited to see where they go moving forward. We know this potential is strong in this team. Unfortunately for them, today was not their day.
Maybe it'll be the 110th time when Fnatic can finally take down G2, but unfortunately, as you say, it was just not today. G2, they just have to find some way to take them in the mid-game, to control silence, to do anything against this team, but it's always easier said than done. And it doesn't matter how much your individual star power is there in Fnatic. There was incredible performance from every one of those players throughout the year, but it's not just enough to be better individually, you have to be better as a team. And G2, they've been fundamentally working on that for so long.
Let's see Laure heading over to the stage. Get ready for a post-game interview, so you won't have to listen to us yapping for too much longer. We will hear from the boys in the middle, who's making all the plays, calling all the shots on the stage. And Roman leading us in. I believe it's an Icelandic clap.
And as the crowd gives a final cheer, a big shout out and thank you to the viewers of the LEC. We've had an incredible year, an incredible season finals. And thank you, gentlemen, a fantastic cast on the day.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
Thank you, G2 and Fnatic, for really delivering. Very
and
grateful
MDK
for this
for
opportunity.
Obviously.
I mean, it's just been, I've really enjoyed the LEC.
We love you all dearly.
Yeah.
And we love you, Dagda.
Of course we do. Of course we do. And see, Laure is now standing by with Hans Summer and Caps in our Marriott Bonvoy post-game check. Ish.
We are just finishing to set up, actually, but of course a lot to celebrate here for yet another G2 victory. Munich, noch einmal für G2 Esports! Your season finals champions in 2024. But Caps, this is really not your first time here. 14 titles. The trophy case is piling up, I feel, and it's stacking up here, I feel. But how does this one feel after winning so many times? Is this one different for you?
Definitely. I think every title has its own specialties, and I think winning today, a lot of comebacks, a lot of cheers from the crowd. Thank you guys so much for the support. I'm super happy that we managed to win out the last game and take it home.
the samurais have been really, really loud. I know you guys over there, I've heard you, but the entirety of the arena have been really loud today. Hansama, similar question. It's not your first trophy. How does this one feel?
It feels very amazing to have this trophy. I feel like it's been like a long road, right? We went to the loser bracket and we had to like sweat in a lot of best of 5. And I'm very proud of my team and everyone to really put that much effort and ended up winning it.
Tell me about the loser bracket run, because you did this in the past, but I don't feel like last year this is a road that you had to go through. Do you feel like this is something that helped you, Caps, being that dominant today?
I definitely think we had like a bit of a wrong meta read going into our first series, and we were not really there on the day performing. So definitely having a lot of best of 5s, getting to really find our place in the meta. Also making everyone quite worried, especially against Vedius, you know, it definitely helps us.
And also playing on stage twice, playing in front of this amazing arena twice. Hansama, I remember that when you came back in Europe 2 years ago, you were heartbroken, you had a lot to prove, you wanted to prove it out, and one thing that you told me is that one of your main goals was to be the best AD carry you can find in the West, not even in Europe. 2 years in, do you feel like you got there? Would you call yourself the best AD carry in Europe?
I mean, probably.
Right? You know what?
I mean, I think...
Before you go, I think I have something that's going to help you make this decision, because you are the finals MVP! Crowd is cheering. The community has decided you are the finals MVP, so I'm going to ask you this once again. Are you the best AD carry in the West?
Well, I'm surprised to have this finals MVP. There's definitely some stuff about the game that I think I might be better than the other ones, but definitely the other AD carries have their own strength. I wouldn't say that I'm the best AD carry. I still have to prove more, and I really put a lot of effort to really make myself stronger. The past months, really, I've been really trying hard, and I really want to get there, you know, to go to the level that I will be proud of. I'm very happy to get this, it's huge thanks to my team, because they're just there to set me up for success as well, and very thankful.
Caps, you all achieved something that you actually had never done before. Got the winter split, got the spring split, got the summer splits as well. The season finals here today. What was missing before, and what was the difference this time around for you guys to complete the domestic golden road? We're gonna call it that.
I think last year in spring we were experimenting a lot. I remember playing a lot of Malphite mid and some crazy picks. I think this time around we also experimented, but it was only in the upper bracket. And I think once we went to the lower bracket, we just pulled out some more boring drafts, maybe not too many crazy picks. We still had some Gwens here and there. We had some Kalistas popping up, but definitely a bit more like what is our comfort.
I have to mention Worlds, because when we sent you off to MSI, I asked you, can we trust you? Can we trust G2? Can we trust you guys after what happened at Worlds 2023? Well, let me ask you this again. Worlds in Europe this year. We know that usually Europe performs well when they play at home. Can we trust G2 and the LEC and the EMEA overall at Worlds this year, Caps?
I mean, if we have this amazing crowd with us, how can we not win, right? So, thank you guys.
Caps, Hans, congrats once again. Congrats to the entirety of G2, of course. Munich, one more time for your season finals champion.
Thank you.
We want to hear from the rest of the team, though. So, Sjokz, over to you.
Thank you so much. Wonderfully done, Laure. 2 wonderful champions already, and I've got Broken Blade and Mikyx here with me, as well as Guldborg, who is a champion in